All right, this is worksheet 3-3. We'll start with page 139. Problem number 1. They just want you to find the slope. To find the slope, use the slope formula. Remember, you subtract the y's on top, subtract the x's on bottom. For the first 2 points, our y's are 4 and 2. Our x's are 0, -1. What do I do here?
What do you do there? You switched them?
What do I do? Change it to plus, right? Change those two to addition when you have two negatives together. End up with 2 on top, 1 on bottom. You could leave that as 2/1, or you could just write it as 2. Either one of those answers is fine. Number 2, what's our y coordinates?
5 and -7.
Y coordinates 5, -7. X's.
-2 and 1.
Make sure you're taking them in the same order both times. It matters for slope. It didn't matter for midpoint and distance formula. Change those to plus. We get 12 over -3. That reduces to 4 over -1, or you could just write it as -4. Either one of those answers is fine. Number 3, same idea. It's the y coordinates.
1 and 3.
So 1 minus 3,
And 0 and 3.
0 minus 3, 1 minus 3, -2,
Pardon the interruption,
0 minus 3,
please report to Mr.
-3,
Griffin's room. Nico Nakis,
negative
Kyle
divided by
Johnson.
negative is positive,
and Garrett Griffin, please report to Mr. Griffin's room at this time.
2/3. Number 4,
Y's are -2 and -4.
so -2 minus a -4, x's.
-5 and 5.
So -5 minus 5, change this to plus. We get -2 plus 4 is 2. -5 minus 5 is -10. Reduce that down, you get 1 over -5. Remember, if you wrote it -1 over 5, that's the same thing. Remember, slope also, slope tells you, that tells you a rise, that tells you a run. So the top number tells you how much to go up or down, bottom number tells you how much to go left or right. What you? Chris, you gonna stay in here and take advantage of this? Number 5. Number 5, they give us a graph. Put all my x and y axes in here. Let me graph these real quick. Let's change our color here. They tell us that T is there. O is, or I'm sorry, W is there. That's one of the lines. That's line TW and line NP. 1, 2, 3, 4, -4, -1. If I count something wrong, tell me. And then P is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are our 2 lines that they give us. That's a terrible line. And number 5, we want to find the slope of line NP. Line NP. Terrible drawing. So we want to find the slope of that. For NP, we just rise and run. We go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So up 6. Over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Reduce that. 3 will go into 6 twice. 3 will go into 9 3 times. Slope of NP is 2/3. Makes sense? Number 6. You ready now, or are you trying to cheat again?
No, go ahead and get tissue.
So all you did there was just
Why would I
up and
cheat?
then to the right, and then you reduced it?
Yeah. That's how you find the slope if you're given a graph.
Okay.
For the other one, TW, that's what they want on this one, line TW. This time I'm gonna start at W and go there. So I go up 2. You gotta be careful on this one because now you go to the left one, so that's a -1. So our slope, and remember M stands for slope. So it'd be up 2, over 1. You could reduce that to just -2, or you could leave it 2 over -1. It doesn't matter, it's the same. Depends on what you're doing with it. Number 7, they want the slope of a line parallel to TW. Well, we just got done doing TW and the slope was -2. Well, any line parallel to TW is going to have the same slope. So the slope for number 7 has to also be -2. Number 8, they want the slope of a line perpendicular to NP, so perpendicular to that line. Well, we found the slope of NP up here. If 2 lines are perpendicular, then their slopes are opposite reciprocal, so we want the opposite reciprocal of 2/3, which means you flip it over. And since 2/3 was positive to begin with, we want to make it a negative. So number 8, slope of a line perpendicular to line NP is -3 over 2. That makes sense?
Yeah, just switched it basically.
Flip it over,
Yeah.
switch the sign. So in other words, that would give us some line that would intersect that line and would form right angles with it. Nine through 12.
Teacher Party direction, following students, please report to Mr. Dittmer's office. Whitney Hollis, Carson Fort, Elena Wassam, Emily Satterfield, Becky and or Chelsea Allen, Joel King, Savannah Reese, Carrie Beener, and Amy Hubbard. Please report to Mr. Dittmer's office. Thank you.
They want us to find the slopes of these 2 lines and tell whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. They didn't actually tell us to find the slopes, but to tell whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither, we gotta find the slopes. So on number 9, our our y coordinates, that's gonna go on top, is 3 minus a -7, and our x coordinates 0 minus 5. Change that to plus, that's 10 on top. 0 minus 5 is -5. Reduce that and you end up with 2 over -1, so that's the slope of AB. MN, we do the same thing, find the slope of it. 7 minus a -1 and -6 minus a -2. Change that to plus, change that to plus. That ends up being 8. -6 plus 2 is -4. Reduce that down, that ends up being 4 will go into 8 twice, 4 will go into -4, -1. We compare those 2 slopes, they're the same, so that means those 2 lines are parallel. Same idea, we find the slope of AB. Let's 4 minus a -5, that's our y's. -1 minus 2 plus, gives us 9 over -3. Reduce that down. That reduces to just -3 or -3 over 1, if you want to write it that way, just so you don't get confused when you're doing slope. Mn. 2 minus 0, that's our y's, and -3 minus 3 is our x's. 2 minus 0 is 2, -3 minus 3 is -6. So that's, let's reduce that down, that's 1 over -3. I think, make sure I did this right. Let's see, for AB, 4 minus a -5, that looks right. And for our y's, for our x's, it's -1 minus 2, -3 there, 9 there, that looks right. I want to make sure here because these two look like they're opposite reciprocals,
They're not.
but they're not because they have the same sign. So make sure I didn't make some just careless mistake with my signs. Let's see, 2 minus 0, -3 minus 3, 2 minus 0 is 2, -3 minus 3 is -6. So we compare these two, they're, right, they look like they're opposite reciprocals, but they're reciprocals, but they're not opposites of each other, so these are neither. They're not anything to each other. Number 11, for AB, we got our y's are -7 and 2. Our x's are -2 minus 4. That gives us -9 over -6. Negative over a negative is going to end up being positive. 9 over 6 reduces to 3 over 2. And for Mn, we have 0 minus 6 and -2 minus 2. Be -6 over -4. Negative over negative gives you a positive. 6 over 4 reduces to 3 over 2. They have the same slope, so that tells us that those two are parallel. Makes sense?
Yep.
Number 12, same kind of problem. Let's do this a little quicker here. I'm not gonna write down A, B and stuff. Let's just -8 minus a -6, that's our y's. -4 minus 4, change that to plus, that's -2 over -8. Reduce that, ends up being a positive 1/4. And for Mn, we got 0, oops, no we don't. For Mn, we have 5 minus a -3 over,
Teachers, pardon the interruption. Would all student council members please report to Ms. Chalice's room for a brief meeting? In addition, I need the following students to the main office,
that's
please.
plus,
Corey Zima,
plus
Skylar Sparks,
8
Josh Sorensen,
over
Matt
-2,
Tyre, Jacob
reduce
Rennick,
that,
Allison Grimes,
4 over
Travis
-1.
Johnson, and Kayla Atherton. Thank you.
Those are opposite reciprocals, so that means these two lines are perpendicular. They come together to form right angles. Are you still studying?
No, I'm copying that.
When you gonna do that test? Here in a minute?
Yeah. I don't want to do it.
That's fine with me.
No, I have to.
I think I've said that in class before, right?
Turn it in blank.
Turned in blank. I appreciate that.
No.
Makes it easy for me to grade,
I don't want to.
especially stuff that I gotta read. Let's let's.
Give us 100s and.
Yeah, I can't do that, I lose my job. Number 13 says graph the line that satisfies the conditions. Orange this time. What you do first on problems like 13 is graph.
Pardon the interruption. Would all FFA parliamentary procedure team members please report to the ag room? Thank you.
Graph the point that they give you first. So they give us a point A is 0, 1. That's point A. And then they tell us that the slope is 3. Remember, when you have a whole number as a slope, you can put a 1 under it. That way you have a rise and a run. That tells us to go up 3 and to the right 1, up 3, to the right 1. If you run out of space going up and to the right, then you can always go down 3, which is a negative 3, but then you counteract that by going to the left 1. Drawing your line. Wow, what a terrible line. That was number 13.
This is too easy.
I feel like it is really easy.
Sweet.
Number 14. So remember that tomorrow when we go over the harder stuff. Number 14, the point they give us this time is negative 4, 5. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's point R this time. And our slope is negative. They don't write it that way, they write it this way. Negative slope, negative. Dang, my pen's off. Negative 3 over 2, so they write it with the negative out in front. Well, when it's written that way, just move that negative either to the top or to the bottom. So it could be negative 3 over positive 2, or it could be 3 over negative 2. It doesn't matter which one, just depends on where you're at on your graph. On your graph, you probably want to use the first one here, because on the smaller graph, I have room to go up 3 and to the right 2. On your little graph, you might not have room, so you'd want to go, oops, I'm sorry, that's wrong. If I go up 3, 1, 2, 3, I have to go to the left 2. On your graph, you might not have room to go up and to the left, so you might have to go down 3 and to the right 2. Sorry about that, stupid mistake. Our line's gonna look something like that. Problem 15, a little harder on problem 15. They want you to graph the line that contains the point 30. So that's right there. That's going to be point Y. But then they say, and is parallel to, and they give you this other line DJ. Well, the first thing we got to do is find the slope of line DJ. And we use our slope formula again. Our Y's are 3 and 1, so 3 minus 1. Our X's are, I did it starting with the second point this time, so gotta make sure I go in that same order. 3 minus a negative 3. Change that to positive. You end up with 2 on top, 6 on bottom, which is 1/3. So slope of line DJ is 1/3. Well, if it's parallel to our line, then that means the slope of our line that we want to graph has to be the same, so the slope has to be 1/3. Tells us go up 1, to the right 3, up 1, to the right if you run out of room going that way, then down 1 into the left 3, down 1 to left 3. Drawing your line. Remember what was special about that point right there? In algebra, you should have learned that. We're going to talk about next time.
Well, it's right on the x-axis. Y-axis.
It's called the y-intercept. So when we were talking about y equals mx plus b, and that equation, that b right there, is that point right there. So next time you don't have to know that. So that's part of what we're gonna learn tomorrow. 16, sort of the same idea on 16, except this time instead of saying the lines are parallel, they say that they are perpendicular. The point they give us is 0, -2, which just happens to be our y-intercept that we just got in talking about. So we know it's going to cross the y-axis at that point. We find the slope of the cx, the other line, and to do that we take 3 minus a -1, that's our y-coordinates, and 0 minus 2. Change that, you get 4 on top, -2 on bottom, which reduces to 2 over -1. Let me rewrite that. 2 over -1. That's the slope of the other line. We want our line to be perpendicular to it or form right angles with it. So it's got to be the opposite reciprocal, which is just 1 over 2, right? So that tells us to do what?
Go up 1 to the right 2.
Up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, or we could go down 1 into the left 2, down 1 to the left 2. Yes? Yeah. Yes? Mm-hmm. Julia, they want you in the office.
Oh, of course.
Tell them you ain't got no time to get in trouble, you gotta get back here and do that test.
I am in trouble.
Huh?
I had detention for him.
That's not good. Flipping to the back side, I think that was the last one, right? On the back side, page 140, problem number 1. They want you to find the slope again. So we just do the y's, 4 minus 2 on top, -4 minus 0 on bottom. That gives you 2 over -4, reduce that down. You get 1 over -2, that's your slope. Number 2, y is on top, so -9 minus 4. On bottom, you got your x's, -2 minus 2, it's -13 over -4. I think that's right. A negative over a negative, you can change that to positive, and your answer is just 13 over 4. Can't do anything to that. Three, 4, 5, and 6. Same idea as on the other page or the other side. Drawing our graph here. Let's see, L is -3, 2. That's L. M is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's one of our lines. G is 0, -1. R is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. That's another line. Missed the points. And then P is 2, 0. And S is 3, 2. first thing they asked us to do, find the slope of LM. Let's change our color here. So that's number 3, this is number 3. Slope of LM is going to be rise is 2, run is 3, won't reduce, that's our slope. Find the slope of GR. A lot of people get confused on this one. You start at G, go down and over. We go down 2, so that means it's a -2. And we go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That won't reduce any, so it's just -2/5. Number 5, a line parallel to GR. Well, if the 2 lines are parallel, then their slopes are the same. So this answer is the same as number 4, -2/5. Number 6, a line perpendicular to PS. Well, we haven't found the slope of PS yet. Slope of PS, we go up 2 to the right 1, so that slope is 2/1. We want something perpendicular to that. So it's the opposite reciprocal, so what is it?
-1/2.
-1/2. So slope is -1/2. Number 7 through 10, they want you to find the slope of the line they give you, and then the slope of a line that would be perpendicular to that. So again, we're going to have to use the slope formula for number 7. Our y's are -4 minus a -1, and our x's are 2 minus a -2. We're going to change both those. End up with -3/4. That's one of your answers. Then you want the line that's perpendicular to it.
4/3.
So it's just +4/3. That's your second answer on that. Number 8, our y's are 3 minus 5, or 3 and 5. Our x's are 1 minus a -1. Change those signs, you end up with -2/2, which reduces to just -1, or you could leave it -1/1. Either way, that's your answer. You want the line perpendicular to it. This one confuses some people.
Just 1.
It's just +1. It's just the opposite reciprocal, where the reciprocal of -1 is +1. Number 9, find the slope of that. Our y is -2 minus 3. Pins off when you get too close. And our x is 4 minus 5. -2 minus 3 is -5. 4 minus 5 is -1. That reduces to just 5/1, or just 5 would be fine. Line perpendicular to that would be -1/5. Number 10. See me do something wrong, tell me, all right? I already figured out 2 of them on that other recording that I messed up on as I was doing it now. Our y is -3 minus 1, x's 2 minus a -4. Change the signs here. -3 minus 1 is -4. 2 plus 4 is 6. Can reduce that down to -2/3. That's one of your answers. You want the line perpendicular to it, which is the opposite reciprocal, so flip it over and change the sign. 3/2. Oh, that's not good. It's a good thing I didn't yell at you for having your phone out in my class, isn't it?
I didn't have my phone out in class. Okay, maybe one time.
When I stopped and stared at you.
Yeah.
When I stopped and
That
stared at
scared
you,
me.
what were you doing?
I don't know what It scared me when you did that.
Good.
It like made my heart stop. I thought I was gonna get in like big trouble.
I need to have my phone out.
I like having my phone out.
Number 11. They want us to graph this line again. Again, you're going to start with the point. So we go right 2, down 2. That's point U. Our slope this time is -1/2. Remember to put the negative either on top or bottom. So if we do it -1/2, or we could do it 1/-2, doesn't make any difference. If we do the top one up here, it tells us go down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2. Maybe you run out of space that way, so the other one would tell you to go up 1 and to the left 2. That's our line. I'm going to go ahead and, that was number 11. I'm going to do number 12 just in a different color on the same graph. Let's do red. So number 12 is in red. They tell us the point is -3, -3. That's point P. And the slope is 4/3. So that tells us our rise is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our run is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. If we run out of space going that way, we could go down 4 and to the left 3. Our line should look something like that. Who do you have for intervention?
Mr. Stratton.
So make you be quiet, you would. Problem 13. We want a line that contains the point. I missed my thing there. Remember, this is our origin right here. So don't forget. Contains the point -4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. So that's point B. And is parallel to this other one, so we got to find the slope of this other line. -3 minus a -2 over 0 minus 4. Change the sign here. It's -1 over -4. Make those positive, so it's 1/4. If it's parallel to it, then it's the same as it. So we just go up 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And our line's going to look something like that. Number 14, just change colors here. 14, same idea. The first point they tell us is -3, 0. -3, 1, 2, 3, 0. And that's point Z. And this, we want something that's perpendicular to this other line, 4 minus -2 and -2 minus 2. Those change signs, can you see that green? So that's 6 on top, -4 on bottom. Reduce that down, you get 3 over -2. That tells us go up 3, 1, oops, I'm sorry. We want a line that's perpendicular to that. There is that, since I messed up. So we want the opposite reciprocal of that, which would be 2/3. So we go up 2 to the right 3, up 2 to the up 2 to the right 3. Our line's going to go, and I missed my points, but just lay it on my chair if you would. It's going to go somewhere like that. Number 15 says, after Take-Two began renting DVDs at their video store business soared. From 2003, profits increased at a rate of $12,000 per year. So we have 12,000 for 1 year. That's a rate of change. And then they say in 2003, they had profits of $46,000. Now what we could do here, they want to know what's the profit's going to be in 2009. Well, each year it goes up 12,000. We could do this several different ways. Probably the easiest way is just figure out what each profit was after in each year. So 2004 we had 12,000 net, 58,000. Add another 12,000, 70,000, another 12,000, 82,000, another 12,000, 94,000, another 12,000, 106,000, another 12,000, 118,000. So their profits in 2009 should have been about 118,000. You believe that's what it is?
Yep.
Probably not. What happens with profits after a while?
They drop.
They maybe not